For too long, South African consumers have faced hidden fees, poor service and security concerns from banks that seem disconnected from their needs. The Customer Experience Index aims to change that by providing a transparent, data-driven measure of which banks truly prioritize service, security and trust, giving customers the power to make informed banking choices and demand the service that they deserve. Customer Experience Index developer Professor Adré Schreuder joins us now via our video link for more on this discussion. Professor, thank you so much for your time this evening. Now, you have conducted a survey as we celebrate World Consumer Rights Day, of course, looking into the customer experience of South Africans in the banking sector. What are South Africans saying about their experiences when dealing with banks in South Africa?
Well, linking up with consumer rights, I think the reality is consumers have the right to know. They have the right to information. And this index is attempting to do exactly that. Surprisingly, we do find that the banking industry in South Africa is competing very well internationally, but it doesn't say that there's no problems and challenges. We do find that the two banks that actually excelled and currently being awarded a sort of a shared win in the industry is FNB and Standard Bank. And what we also see is that customers still do not complain when they have a problem. It's as if they are reluctant to actually voice their opinion. And my advice would be, if you have a problem or an issue, do go through the effort of complaining, because then only would the bank be in a position to actually do something about it. If you keep quiet, it will not be solved at all.
And while conducting this index report, I know you've touched on some of the issues that came out, but what would you say stood out for you the most that can be addressed almost immediately by the banking sector?
Well, what is interesting is that we compare well when it comes to solving customer complaints and problems. But where we don't fare well is the non-resolution of problems. There's still a substantial part, some banks even as high as 20% of customers that complain that do not find their problem or their query to be resolved and therefore are unhappy. So that's one of the key components. Another thing is that banks seem to find it difficult to really provide an overall, let's call it almost a franchise level of great experience across all the channels and all the products. You know, the word in customer experience nowadays is omni-channel. I don't see that in the banking industry. The portfolio of category wins for the top banks are different. And therefore, it means that there's areas where they excel in, and there's areas that they do not do that well in. And that's, I think, another great message is be concerning about the type of product and the type of channel that you choose to be your preferred bank.
And in South Africa, I mean, when you're speaking about the banking sector, one thing that always comes out is the issue around banking fees. What role did bank charges play in this index, particularly when South Africans raised some of their concerns?
Well, the index consists of 6 different indices, and one of the important ones is what we call value of the experience. And part of value of experience would be bank fees, but it's not only bank fees, it's also interest rates. It's all the different types of tariffs and fees, but it's also including what we call social cost, effort. For instance, if you have to redo something, that frustration of wasting time. So as a matter of fact, the cost of time is also factored into this. And we do see the ongoing pressure on the economy is making customers really discerning when it comes to choosing their banks. There's customers that tell us that they want to downgrade from a private bank to a normal banking because they don't get the value, and the amount that they pay is not, worth it. So therefore, value for money, value of experience is actually one of the major things that I think banks can concentrate on.
And what would you say in this index that was pointed out by customers when it comes to systems that can be improved? Or what kind of improvement do South Africans want to see in the banking sector?
A very interesting component in a multilingual country like South Africa is just stop speaking bank speak. Customers feel disrespected when you use terminology that they don't understand. So speak the consumer language that they can understand. That's one of the things. For instance, the understanding of bank statements, the understanding of terms and conditions. How many of you actually read terms and conditions? Because all the legal speak and whatever terminology is so difficult, people just skip over that. And that's the type of things that I think we can really contribute to make it easier, make it more user-friendly, and therefore the UX, the user experience of even something like a bank statement is quite important. User experience of apps. Where do you find specific functionalities in the app? You don't need to search for it. You should be able to almost intuitively know where to go. Those are some of the things that we've seen customers complaining about.
And what recommendations have you made to the banking sector, highlighting some of these concerns and challenges which have been brought up by its customers?
Well, the way that we work in the index is that we work according to a subscription model. So the top banks have been approached and quite a number of them subscribed, and they get a full competitive benchmark that basically gives them insight into their customers as well as their competitor customers in terms of this. So therefore, it's a non-aligned, independent, credible index that is supported by the chair that I'm heading up at the University of Pretoria. Therefore, we are saying to banks, this should become a trusted source for both banks and banking customers. And we're going to roll this out to all industries in South Africa. So this is just the first to come. We're ready in the field with short-term insurance, in field with medical schemes, in field with life insurance and savings and investments. So those are the industries that we're going to start rolling out in the months to come. And one of the things that I think is also maybe a surprising component is that do not underestimate the power of consumers and South African banking customers that's willing to recommend their bank. We found a percentage between 19 and 21% of customers that's actually willing to recommend, talk to friends and family about their good banking experience. There's also a percentage of them that don't do that and actually do the reverse. And they speak against that bank and say, stay away. That's the worst bank by far. And those type of things, I think, needs to be rectified.
And Professor, just before I let you go, what has been the response, from the banking sector when it comes to this report in which you have conducted, particularly those who have subscribed to this report?
It's been quite phenomenal. Some of the big banks have now sort of mandated that this becomes their single third-party trusted voice of customer view. And that in itself tells me that the confidence in the statistical robust view that actually replicates the degree to which customers experience day-to-day banking. The frustrations, the good and the bad, and that's all included there. And there's a lot of appreciation for the fact that this is robust, it's trusted, and it's so comprehensive. We did almost 30,000 interviews just for the banking industry. It's the largest banking industry study to date.
All right, Professor, thank you so much for your time this evening. That is Professor Adré Schreuder there, from the Customer Experience Index, and he is indeed the developer, of course. So this is as we mark World Consumer Rights Day, and that index particularly focusing on the experience of South Africans looking into the banking sector.